Hey everyone, it's Jenny at JC Cards, and today I've got a video showing you how to create a shaped shaker card. This video is part of a video hop celebrating the new Hello Sunshine release from Catherine Pooler, and I'm also going to show you what I did with the leftovers from my shaker card to create a second card. Now I'm going to be using this Whimsical Blooms stamp set from the new release. It also has coordinating dies, including this one here that shows you how these shapes and stamps fit together to create a full flower. I'm going to be using the Phoenix sequins from the new release and this amazing patterned paper. So to start off with, I've cut the paper down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 and a piece of premium white cardstock as well. I'm just going to adhere that to the back of the patterned paper to make it a bit more sturdy. And I die cut the flower directly through the centre of both those pieces. I don't know why I didn't do them at the same time. There you go. I've got 2 pieces of craft foam. This is coloured craft foam, but you can use any you like. And I've die cut it from the centre of those two. And I've added a piece of acetate just with some glue runner behind that window on the pattern paper panel before I adhere it over the top of my craft foam layers. And I find it easier with a detailed die cut window like this to use craft foam because it keeps those sequins where you want them without too much kind of moving behind the scenes, as it were. So if I'd cut a rectangle behind that shape, some of the sequins could have got lost outside the margins. Now I want to stamp the actual images onto the base of my shaker, but I need to know where I have to put them. So I've lined up my die behind the window, shuffled it around a little bit just to get it in the right place on my A2 size panel of premium white, and then done a light pencil line around the outline of the die, and that's not going to show up once we add our window over the top. This provides me a guide as to where I need to add my images. So I've added the panel into my MISTI and I'm lining up each stamp individually into my pencil line. So first off I'm adding the large bloom and I've stamped that with Samba ink. I did stamp it twice just to get a deeper colour. I'm then adding the stem stamp, and that was a little bit trickier to line up, but it's fairly forgiving, the stamp set, and the window itself is a little larger than the image, so it works out pretty well. And I've stamped that stem in Mardi Gras. Again, I've stamped that twice. And then the smaller stamp of the bloom, again, I'm stamping in Samba. Now, this is a layering stamp set, so there are some outlines as well that will go over these petals. I'm just going to add the buds in It's a Girl, but that actually won't show through when I do the next stage, which is I'm going to add a powder tool just to remove any static cling, and then I'm going to stamp the outline images, or the second layer, with Wow Embossing ink, because I'm going to heat emboss these outlines, and I'm going to be using metallic gold embossing powder, which shows up really well against that Samba red. It looks really nice and shiny, and it's super easy using the acrylic blocks just to line up those images directly over the main solid stamp set. I could have used my MISTI, but I thought it was quicker actually to use the acrylic blocks. And then I'm just adding the Wow embossing powder all over the top and heat embossing. And you'll see as that powder melts what a gorgeous contrast you get of that gold against the Samba. Now I like to add my sequins directly onto the base panel rather than into the window itself. I find this much easier because I am terrible at lining up the images with the shaped window if I can't see that window. So this way I can see what I'm doing, and as long as those sequins are in the areas where they need to shake around, i.e. not in the stem part, it will work out perfectly, and any excess you can just trim off. And then you've got a perfect shaker card with 2 little areas that have their own little shaker in them. Now I've got one of the fitted frames, which is also one of the dies from the new release, and I've die cut a piece of premium white cardstock with the smallest fitted frame, and I'm using the Hello Beautiful sentiment from the stamp set, stamping it in Midnight ink directly over the top, and you'll see it fits perfectly. I'm adding some foam squares and I'm just going to pop it up. It took me ages to work out where I wanted to put this, but luckily by the power of video editing you don't get to watch me fuss around. Popped it up in the bottom right hand corner, and then added a few more of the Phoenix sequins. And here's a closer look. Sorry about the lighting, one of my lights had turned off and I hadn't realised. Now I'm going to make a second card with the leftovers. So you'll see this is the offcut of the pattern paper from the first panel that we created, and I'm going to stamp the outline images from the stamp set in the same place as I did before. I'm not using the solid layer from the stamp set this time, and I'm going to also add the 3 little stamens at the top, and then I'm going to heat emboss it in gold as I did before. And I have treated this die cut with my powder tool just to make sure I don't get any of the embossing powder sticking where I don't want it. Got out my trusty coffee filter, flicked off any excess, and then heated it up with my Wow dual heat embossing tool. And just be careful with your fingers here. I'd recommend using a pokey tool rather than your finger, because I did nearly burn myself there. Now here's the offcuts of the craft foam. I'm going to add these directly into the centre of a panel of premium white cardstock, and just make sure that they don't bend too much. Craft foam is quite bendy, and you want to make sure that that patterned paper fits over the craft foam without too much excess showing around the edges. However, it's not, because I'm using coloured craft foam here, it looks kind of cool if it peeps out from behind the pattern paper. I added both the layers of craft foam for extra dimension, added the pattern paper directly over the top with some of my liquid adhesive, and I'm going to keep this pretty clean and simple. I'm using an acrylic block just to hold it down while it dries. And then this is the other sentiment from the same stamp set, and I'm going to stamp that in Samba ink. I think we often forget to use our coloured inks for stamping sentiments, and Catherine's are awesome for stamping. And then as a finishing touch, I'm going to spatter some of the Midas Touch shimmer pen by Nuvo over the top. It coordinates perfectly with that embossing powder, and then add a few more of the Phoenix sequins. And that finishes the second card. A great way to use up your leftovers, I think you'll agree. The video description contains the next stop on the hop, and if you've enjoyed this video, here's a couple of others you might enjoy. I'd love it if you'd consider subscribing to my channel, and have an awesome day. Bye.